We've got to give our students some early win. Those early wins, the early successes, it helps build the confidence and momentum as we start raising the rigor of those assignments as we go forward. Without a win, it's hard for them to focus. It's hard for them to feel engaged with what's happening in the classroom. It's hard for them to even make a connection. Feedback is one of the most important things we can give our students on any assignment. Every time you give a grade, 50, 100, whatever it is, there should be feedback with it. And the students should be able to take that feedback and move forward to take action with it. It should be actionable. Students who taste success early on, they keep striving. And that translates into achievement throughout the rest of the year. It translates into engagement the rest of the year. It translates into fewer and fewer disengaged students and misbehaving students. And that's all going to, again, lead to greater student achievement and student success. Hey, teachers, welcome to the Lead, Serve, Teach podcast, where we explore the intersection of leadership, education, and personal growth. I'm your host, D. Paul Miller, and I'm so glad that you joined me here for another powerful conversation and a little bit of real talk. This is episode 4 of a 4-part series on, well, the most important things we can do as educators in those first few days of school, the back to school time frame. I think that's all true. They're all best practices. That's been proven through research. I'm not going to sit here and argue with those. I'm just going to say we need to maybe adjust them just one degree, one little click, if you will. They need to be adjusted in a certain direction. And one of those directions is giving time to each one of those. And if you've been here for episodes 1, 2, and 3 about not just giving those rules, but developing relational authorities, taking the time to do that. Yeah, it might take a day or two for that. This idea of teaching classroom routines, like teaching them and doing an I do, we do, you do, gradual release type mentality for our routines, I think it can really improve our classroom and improve what we're going to do in the coming weeks and months of the school year. Last time we were talking about developing foundation of emotional safety in the classroom, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of school, 6 days of school. It needs to be established there. And again, today is about that last one, which is aligning high expectations with early wins. I think a lot of teachers establish expectations with students by saying, hey, I expect all my students to perform here. We're all going to make A's. We're all going to pass our state exams. We're all going to do this, this, and this every day. Like, here are the expectations. We're going to set high academic expectations. But I think it's so important that we don't just leave them there. I think we have to be purposeful as educators in establishing early wins. We need to scaffold those first few assignments, those first few projects, those first few attempts that students are taking in our classroom. I think we kind of need to ensure that there are some early wins. Students tend to disengage and misbehave when work feels impossible. I remember teaching my first AP level course in high school. Yeah, I was very proud of being the teacher of this AP US government course. And I set the expectations very high, and those first few assignments straight out of the gate, very, very high. Lots of failures for my students. And I saw a lot of them, some of the highest level, highest performing students in the school. And they were just like that, starting to disengage. Not misbehaving, but just disengaging. It feels impossible. Early success builds confidence and momentum with the students. The opposite of what happens whenever we put in those assignments that maybe are just a little bit too hard. I remember in middle school deciding I was going to join the football team. My older brother was already on the high school football team, and my dad had played football, came from a long line of football players, and man, I was going to do the same thing. And I remember in middle school going to what they called off-season workouts. It was the first time I'd started to lift weights in any real capacity. And I remember going into the weight room and of course my brother, older guy, high school kids there, he's sitting there looking at me, said, hey, Paul, don't overdo it. Ease into this. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to show everything I've gotten. So instead of like lifting as an exercise, I went into every lift as what they call a max. If you've ever lifted weights, you know what I'm talking about. I was maxing out every single lift I could because I wanted to look cool. I wanted to look like I knew what I was doing. I wanted to look strong more than anything. And so I was just giving every lift, no matter what the lift was, I was giving everything I had. And then they were like, hey, listen, it's kind of like a chest and back day. We're going to use our chest muscle and back muscle. We're going to do some deadlifts and bench press. And I was just overdoing it all in one day. I started off, had very high expectations, I guess, for myself in that moment, and set the bar so high that I kind of just went off the rails in some ways. I'll never forget that feeling of how I felt when I woke up that morning in bed, trying to just get out of bed. There was extraordinary pain everywhere. And I remember after the first few minutes of the morning, just trying to get clothes on, trying to get ready for school the next day, trying to get my teeth brushed. Holy cow. Like literally raise the arm and brush teeth. Almost too much to handle the pain of my sore muscles. To say I had overdone it was that's a sad understatement. I had destroyed myself. And I remember in that moment, I wanted to disengage. I wanted to walk away. I wanted to quit. And not just quit working out. I wanted to quit football. Like I was just like, man, this ain't for me, apparently. And of course, it didn't help that my brother was sitting there laughing at me, first time being like super sore like that. And but he did remind me. He's like, hey, yeah, I told you, you need to ease into it. Take your time. You need to work your way up. I'm thankful to him for that, and I'm thankful to the coaches that kept working with me in my state of pain. But they kept working with me to help me overcome that. And they said, you know what, we're gonna set up a journal for you, and they set up a weightlifting journal to kind of help keep track of things. They said, hey, we know what your max is on every single thing because you did it yesterday. We're going to set some parameters for what you should be lifting, and it's not maxing out every single time you lift. It's going to be something that's quite a bit less. Something that was, well, I guess you could say in many ways, those coaches were ensuring that I had some early wins when it came to weightlifting, and didn't wake up the next morning feeling like I'm going to quit everything I've been doing with sports and weightlifting or anything like that. Early success can build confidence and momentum, whereas early fall on your face moments, early get too sore that you can't get out of bed moments, early moments where you're so sore you can't brush your teeth, those, well, they can lead to disengagement. They can lead to misbehavior in the classroom when it feels impossible, when there's no way out for the students. So today's podcast is about that overlooked action of giving students those early wins between saying, okay, we're establishing high standards, high academic standards. We're telling our students the reason why they need to be aiming up here for the stars. At the same time, scaffolding, as a scaffold would work, scaffolding their way up to the top here, and not just saying, hey, you've got to make this leap from here to up here. Like, I hope you make it. That was like me trying to max out on every single lift that I was doing in the weight room and being ready to give up. I couldn't hit that mark yet. I had to continue working out to get there. I had to have some early wins. I had to work out and not get so sore I couldn't move and realize it's going to be okay. I'm going to get better at this. I had to have those early successes, those early wins. So I think that's that fine line of saying, no, we're going to establish in our classrooms these very high expectations. And at the same token, especially at the start of the school year, one of those overlooked but often so important elements, so important actions we can take is making sure we're giving our students those opportunities to meet our high expectations. We have to develop ways to ensure that they have some early wins because, again, that frustration that leads to disruption, the frustration that leads to, well, gosh, sometimes discipline problems, not just disruption, not just disengagement, but discipline problems in their habits. Sometimes it's because the students feel like they can never meet the expectation. They've been in your classroom for 6 months now, and they've never felt a win. As teachers out there, make sure you're building in some early wins, some early successes that, yeah, if you feel like, you know what, this is a give me, sometimes it's okay to give your students a give me situation, a give me assignment. Sometimes it's great to just give them that 100 and say, man, this was awesome. It's great to do that right at the beginning of the year while maintaining high expectations and make sure that your feedback as a teacher, it may be that they get an early win. It may be that they've achieved 100 on this assignment that, well, let's be honest, maybe it was only 75% kind of work, but it's, hey, I'm going to give you 100. I'm going to make you feel like you're winning, and I'm going to give you feedback that says, hey, this is how you start moving to that next level. Feedback is one of the most important things we can give our students on any assignment. It's one of the most important things we can give them in our classroom, the feedback on their assignments. Stop giving your students 75s and walking away. Stop giving them hundreds and walking away. Every time you give a grade, 50, 100, whatever it is, there should be feedback with it. And the student should be able to take that feedback and move forward to take action with it. It should be actionable. And yeah, if you're gonna ask me, "Hey, Mr. Miller, are you talking about, like, allowing students to redo assignments?" Absolutely, they should be able to redo assignments. They should be given that opportunity each and every time they turn something in, and it's not meeting those high expectations. And what I'm talking about is early on, maybe you alter their grades a little bit. Maybe you bump their grades up. Give them those early wins with that feedback. That is the link. That is the magic sauce if you're wanting to know, how do I ensure early wins? How do I ensure that they get some good grades right off the start? Maybe they're not doing the highest level work yet. When you can tell a student, hey, good job, Johnny. You did a good job on that. I'm going to give you 100. But you know what? Whenever you were describing the main character in this story, you could have used some of X, Y, and Z. You could have done this, this, and this, and it would have made it even better. Johnny, next time you write a paper, next time you're talking about a character and you're describing the character in their story, I want you to do this, this, and this. And in fact, if you want to turn this one again, if you want to do a little practice, I'll give you a little extra credit on this assignment if you go back and redo it. That's how you keep things in the positive. You show them that they're winning. You show them that that their engagement in your content, engagement in the assignment, engagement in the task, engagement in the learning has value to them. Whenever they find success, that will help lead your students to be more and more focused. So I hope you're seeing the connection. I'm not just saying give students grades at the beginning. It doesn't matter what they, like just give them all hundreds and keep moving forward. No, you need to, it's okay to give some higher grades. It don't have to be hundreds, but it's okay to give higher grades maybe than what they actually earned at the start of the school year. As you're making the connections through feedback to the high expectations, where you want them to be, that's where the magic happens. So, one of the things that I think you can do, and one of the ways that we can use AI to help us as teachers, as educators, I think you will be amazed if you have a reading passage out there, for example, and then let's say several paragraphs long or whatever, and you know that you have some readers that are right on grade level, you got some readers that are higher level readers, and you got some readers that maybe are a few grade levels below. You can actually take that passage, those couple of paragraphs, and put it into an AI tool of your choice, of your choosing, and have it kind of give varied levels of that same text. It can ramp it up a little bit, it can ramp it down a little bit, and you can have, well, really in many ways, presenting the same content, the same essential skills, the same essential standards to those students at the same time, while kind of differentiating. We've talked about that term in education for many years, right? Never had a tool like AI, like ChatGPT, Grok, or any of the others that are out there, Magic School AI. There's a lot of tools out there that can start differentiating maybe the reading passages, maybe differentiating math problems and varying the level without diluting the rigor. One of the worst things I've heard said about differentiation is this term dumbing it down. Oh, it's just dumbing it down for certain students. And well, no, actually, it should be the spectrum of students. It should be the same rigor. It should be the same content. We should allow our students, even if they're a few grade levels behind, a few grade levels ahead, right on grade level, they're all in the same classroom. We're all trying to help them access this content. We should be perfectly fine, especially now with AI tools. We should be able to differentiate our assignments and the information, reading passages, math problems, etc. We should be able to differentiate that better than we've ever been able to do in the history of teaching because of AI tools. Use your AI tools to differentiate your assignments and the reading pass or whatever it may be. Again, go and use the tools. Go and use chat one time. Go and use Grok one time. Go and use these different tools and just put in there that you're wanting to differentiate for some students that are maybe a grade level or two below, grade level or two above, grade level on grade level, and you're wanting to make sure that the rigor is staying there. You don't want to dilute the rigor. You're just looking for varied levels that allow them to access the content, to access the most important essential standards in your classroom. That's how you're doing it. Then once they've accessed those standards, you take them to that next step of learning. You connect it to those high expectations. Okay. So make sure you're doing that right from the start. Maybe you have several assignments where you are using AI tools to differentiate what you're presenting to the students, allowing them to access it a little bit where they're at and start ramping them up, especially through the feedback you give them on their assignments and what they're doing, and start helping them scaffold their way up to meet those high standards. You got to do it purposefully with some early wins with feedback. So important. Don't overlook that in the first couple of weeks of school. Just want to encourage you to give it a try. See what happens. Students who taste success early on, they keep striving. And that translates into achievement throughout the rest of the year. It translates into engagement the rest of the year. It translates into fewer and fewer disengaged students and misbehaving students. And that's all going to, again, lead to greater student achievement and student success. Please, I just want to encourage you again, go give it a try. Don't miss out on the opportunities for giving amazing feedback to your students and meeting those high expectations. Feedback is one of those most important tools to make that gap, to jump that gap and close that gap. Because, well, that's what you do as teachers. You're gap closers. And as I always say here, you're not just a teacher, you're a leader, you're a change maker, you're a gap closer. So keep striving, keep inspiring, and don't ever quit. I'm D. Paul Miller. I'll see you here for the next episode.